activated instead of icky, because I know that that's obviously one of the lingering components that we all are always having a conversation around. But as we go into this, I wanted to remind you guys that I was that coach. Like, 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, what is wrong? Like, why can I not sell? Why does sales feel this way? Oh, I guess I have to go and see what, Sally, Joanne, and Betty are doing and how they're selling and what that looks like for them. And just, it never felt good. And it's because 9 times out of 10, it's not that you're missing the perfect strategy. There is quite literally, and I promise you, a million ways to scale to $1 million. But you're usually missing you. You're usually missing that alignment and the authority within you. You're missing that authenticity and that connection between this is who I am, this is the mission I'm on, and this is what I'm representing. And today we're going to bring you through a really awesome, I'm going to go ahead and say formula. And shout out to Kevin because Kevin did put this together, took the magic and put it into a presentation for you guys, because I feel like sometimes it's really nice for us to see this side as visual learners. So I'm going to be prompting you as we go. I'm going to be kind of taking a pause, provoking you, listening to what's going on. So I want to encourage you to utilize the chat. Kevin's also going to be active in the chat with you and for you and kind of seeing what's going on as well. But be with this for a minute. Like, let's take an hour and let's just be with our sales relationship and see how we can develop this just as you would your marriage with your significant other, with your children, with your partner, whoever. You would be taking that relationship seriously. And I think that the more that we can just drop in and do this with our sales and our selling approach, that much more can happen with less effort. It just feels good. So the energy of sales, selling with ease, alignment, and authority. Oh, I gotta move us. We're in the way here. There we go. So words that we live by, and you guys know this, selling is not about convincing. It's about being an energetic match for the people who are looking for you. And when we remember this, we can kind of, I'm going to say, settle back into the why of what we're actually doing in the first place. As soon as we start to, I'm going to say, start getting into our mind, right? We start hearing stories, feeling limited, we will instantly go to a place of convincing. And a lot of you have experienced this. A lot of you guys know it's one of the first things that I'm able to actually pinpoint when I'm reading your message, hearing your voice notes behind the scenes, seeing what's going on these calls with you. There's something that will happen, and it's almost like the switch goes off. We stop being who we are. We stop being fully authentic and remembering and recognizing ourselves. And we go into this place of convincing, of, oh my gosh, I need to make sure I over deliver. I need to make sure that I people please. I need to make sure I go out of my way. I need to make sure that I exhaust myself in order to make sure this person sees me, that make sure this person values me, to make sure that this person wants to join the program. And it's a completely different experience when we're able to actually see that it's so much more about who we are and who we're being and what we are representing. So for those of you that don't know, and for those of you that are going to be watching this replay down the road, I am Candace. So welcome. Hello, future millionaires. I am a devoted mother of two, recently admitted spa addict, a beach lover, a thought leader in the fempreneur revolution that we are calling the Nourished Wealth Movement. So welcome. I am as well a whole ass human being. So not just your another burned out boss babe. And I'm here to show you how to continue to scale with simplicity and with quality of life, most importantly. So today we're going to talk about embodying your offer. We're going to take that and then reverse engineer your vibe. What is the vibe that you are embodying? What does that look like? What does that feel like for your audience? And then practicing the most important skill, and sometimes the most challenging, depending where you're at in your journey, the detachment in sales. Honestly, it just takes place in every area of our life. The more that I learn to detach from sales, the more I learn to detach from situations that were happening in my life, the more I kind of went into, letting my life crumble. You guys have heard me say that a lot in my marketing, but that was like the best thing I did, let it crumble so that I could actually rebuild, and was so focused on the rebuild and was completely detached from what I was quote unquote losing. And there's so much power when you can catch yourself, and that's what it is. It's like just overall awareness and consciousness of what's happening and what pattern you're playing out so you can catch yourself. So write this down. We're going to get into embodying the offer. We're going to start with step 1. And Lucky is joining us. So people don't buy services. They buy the energy of the person selling them. Something really important to note. There we go. So embodiment means that you are a walking, talking symbol of what you stand for. And so if that is the case, your energy is the first thing that I'm using air quotes, see. And so if you are somebody who really struggles to get into like the energy side, I want you to just right now close your eyes. And I want you to imagine opening your phone and going to an account you love going to. You love what they post, you love how they post, you love how they show up. You love, even it could be that you've like gone to an event and seen a person there, or you listen to a podcast. You love the way that being around that person makes you feel. And that's like, it's an energy that we can't quite see, but yet we quote unquote see it, in this social space. So if you're selling ease and freedom, your business should reflect that. They should be able to see that energy. We're going to break this down to examples. So don't overthink, just really be here for a second. You can even just take little notes of what this might be in your case. If you're selling, high ticket, your identity must reflect high value. And I have a lot to say on that, but we're going to get there, because how often are we desiring a high ticket sale, but then bombarding this person as if we don't value ourselves in hopes for the sale? Right? And how can we ensure that that's being reflected? So same as if you're selling health, your energy should reflect nourishment, wholeness, aliveness, excitement. It should feel really, really good for them. They should be able to see that and notice that you feel those things, that you are experiencing and expressing those things. I'm trying to find a spot to keep you guys over here. I want to be able to see you, but it's not working that way at this moment. So the quickest way you could do this is to own your energy and allow people to then meet you there. And oftentimes I'm going to go ahead and say most of you likely are pretty clear on how you would like to own your space and own your energy. But if something happens that's less than ideal, or sales aren't coming in, we're going to keep this really sales focused, at the way that you would like, you kind of flip over and switch gears, and you start to show up and abandon yourself almost, in a sense, right? You stop showing up and owning who you are, which brings them a sense of your identity and keeps you in your identity. I will always say that your mission is like your biggest invitation, because it will keep you so locked in and making sure that you are the representation that you once needed and that you once wanted to be, and that you also get to be that and lead an impact for others by simply being that. Right? By recognizing yourself and sharing who you are, right? What you stand for, what you stand against, and then bringing your expertise. So own what you know, what you see, what you value. There could be 700 health coaches that watch this, and every single one of them, pardon me, will show up differently in their expertise. They could show up so differently in what they see with their clients, in what they stand for, what they stand against, things that they firmly believe in, things that they firmly believe against, things that they've done, tried, things that they now stand for, tools, labs, anything, right? It's just about letting them into your perspective more, letting them into seeing you as the authority more. And especially taking your own stance on that, not just regurgitated information that every other health coach is posting, right? And I think that's what really helps a lot of our practitioners really stand out and really scale the way that they do. And then the last one is own how you feel, which is where we're going to bring the vibe into things. So we're going to get into the identity, your expertise, and your vibe. And again, as we work through this, I just want to invite you to really think about one specific offer that you want to be selling. I think it is really helpful when we can quiet the mind a little bit and really come into the experience and start to see ourselves selling it, starting to see the different ways that we could be bringing this into play when it comes to showing up for that offer or that thing, selling it, sharing about it. So we don't want to complicate it, right? Represent the transformation that you provide. You've heard me say it 100 million times. Represent the transformation that you provide. So if you're a business coach, show them results. Show them a specific result to your formula, right? You guys know I share a simplified formula. You guys know I share a high quality life. You guys know that I share results that have happened with simplicity and not always doing more. If you're a wellness coach, show them healthy, show them nourished, show them alive, show them, energized, and really think about what your clients want. So to go backtrack for a second, my business coaching clients, you guys are here because you want a specific result. We all do. We're all guilty of wanting a result. And so results are what you want. Same with wellness coaches, though. Like, I want you guys to, I feel like there's always a story that's like, oh, it'd be easier for selling, or sales would be easier if I was in this industry or this niche or whatever. And that's so far from the truth. It's literally just a story that you're telling yourself to keep yourself limited. Because I have health coaches and wellness coaches and hormone coaches that have made more than me in a month that I've coached. So it really is about remembering what is the result that your people want, and are you representing it? And how can you represent that? And what are the different ways? If you're a relationship coach, you would show them love. You would show them partnership. You would show them union. You would show them communication. So owning the outcome that your work allows people to experience. Hello, Lizzie, welcome in. Okay, owning the outcome that your work allows people to experience. Oops, we got a couple popping in. Okay, and they need to know, who are you? This is your brand identity. This is how simple we can make things right here, these 4 prompts. I would literally stay with us right now. If you are catching yourself getting distracted, put the phone on airplane mode, toss all this stuff aside, just be with us, take note of this, and you could even practice scripting this out a few times and see what really comes up. It's also something we can workshop afterwards as well when we're doing the Q&A. But who are you? What is your brand identity? Don't complicate it. Just what's the first thing that comes to mind? See how that feels for you. What you do, which is going to be your transformation, which is going to be the problem that you solve. And then why people love you as that. So what is your social proof? If you don't have social proof, don't start sweating or stressing. You have your story. You have your experiences. So start taking note and start recognizing those pieces of you. And then how can they get involved, which is your call to action. That's what they need to know. And I think we get so busy overcomplicating it and wanting to add a million steps and wanting to assume that they need more in order to be ready to invest or be ready to buy. And that's not the case. And it's very rarely ever going to be the case. I share this a lot, but a lot of my high value clients that will come into like private spaces or come into the mastermind will follow me after investing, will literally follow me after we've already set a date on the calendar. But it just goes to show that they're watching, that they're there. They never needed me in their DMs. They never needed me to follow up with them 100 times. They never needed me to put them on this crazy email funnel. They just needed me to show up and represent the results that I represent, to represent the outcomes I support people with, to represent what I stand for, and to truly embody my offer. That's it. So when you fully embody your transformation, you naturally attract clients who resonate with that energy. So let us know, obviously, in the chat, specifically what is coming up for you, what you're selling. Trying to pop the chat up here. I feel this. Good. Big piece. Let's party. Lizzie, I'm so glad that you are here. Yes. So just, and again, I think it's so fun to use the visual parts too, like the power of our mind and how much we love to go into our imagination and just actually picture yourself like fully embodying your offer. What would that look like? What would that entail? What would you be doing? How would that look? Like, I would be so curious. I want to hear these things from you. I want to know what that would look like in your world. Like a sold out offer. Okay, so you have an influx of, I don't know, it just really depends on your business model, but 5 to 10 people come into your world in the next 3 weeks. Okay, well, how did you show up to secure that? Where did you stop pausing or stop dropping half the effort? Right? There's a lot of patterns that are going to have to stop in order to continue to get that result, to see it through. How did you show up and continue to embody the offer that entire time? Where can you make embodying the offer part of what makes this mission so alive for you, which makes this work actually fun? Can we let go of like the stress and the chaos of feeling like it has to be so hard, it has to be so intense, it has to be one specific way. It has to involve hours and hours and hours. So let's reverse engineer the vibe and let's see where you guys land with this. I have a few draggy clients at the moment. I'm torn. Persuasion, and sometimes I get lost in the representation. Ooh, this is so good. Loving this. It's a good reminder that I can show what I'm selling balance rather than just focusing on productivity and habits. Yes. And it feels like permission to show mom life, my relationship with my husband, my self-care, etc. the other pieces of my program embodied. Casey is nailing it. You guys too. We celebrated last week. Casey had an incredible, was it first week of the month? I want to say it was like 8K in sales. Pretty incredible stuff. So this is just a reminder for every level that you're at, right? Every chapter. Like we always need to be coming back to this. It's not necessarily ever going to be that there's more strategies up here or more this up here. You come back to the fundamentals. That's what makes scaling so simple. Because when you start to recognize and say, okay, there really isn't any other shiny objects I need to keep chasing. I need to stay regulated. I need to stay balanced inside of what it actually takes, what is actually required. Okay, so when it comes to embodying the offer and being clear on what you bring for your people, I'm just going to try and pin this. There we go. That will be so supportive when it comes to actually having an audience that continues to grow and continues to convert. And we're going to get there in a second. So write this down. People don't buy with logic. They buy with emotion. People buy with emotion. And then you're here. So this is just such a great and easy example. Or just think about your most recent purchase. What had you make that investment? What made you pull the trigger on that purchase? Whether it was a new outfit, whether it was something for your home, your office, whether it was being here, showing up here, being in support in some way, shape, or form. It's likely the emotion that you were seeking, right? Oh, I went shopping yesterday. I'm like, oh, I grabbed a couple new outfits. I'm like, I love the feeling that these outfits are going to give me. I love how these outfits are going to make me feel. The emotion that I'll carry. Okay, so I'm making that investment through a place of desire. Okay, we buy people. People care less about what you're selling and more about who's selling it. It goes back to my example about health coaches. Okay, let's go back to saying there's 700 health coaches or life coaches or business coaches or mindset coaches even. What's going to set you apart is who you are. And just a great moment to check in and ask yourself, are you really letting them know who you are? Are you really letting them connect with you? Are you really letting them in? It's so much less about the features of your offer and the bonuses and the specials and the guests and I don't even know, anything extra you can think of. It's about the emotional connection that you create and co-create with them, with your audience, with your most ideal buyers and clients, because that's what they're going to be remembering. And so when it comes time to need support in that area, they're going to naturally be connected to and think of you first. And instead of this whole like pick me energy, we get to remember that that's what we're doing intentionally. And we get to have this calm, certain, I'm here when you're ready type of vibe, and also be so unapologetic about that. So the deeper someone feels seen, safe, and understood, the more likely they are to buy. And so how can you support them in feeling that way? That's the questions you need to be asking yourself. When you have a moment of stuck, or you don't know what to show up and say, you don't know, you know what I mean? You're like looking at a conversation, you're overanalyzing it, and you just want to like word vomit all over the conversation. It's like, okay, no, what do they need? They need to be seen, they need to be heard, and they need to be understood. So if you put yourself in their shoes, I love reflecting to clients like what the client actually, what the prospect needs, or what would you need in that situation? If you were having a sales conversation, would you want somebody following up every 12 hours? Are you ready for the link? Are you ready for the link? No? You would be like, I think I should block this person. This seems like a toxic relationship. So where can you remember what's needed and keep yourself focused and centered on what's needed so that you can lean back into your certainty and let them lean forward and come to you when they are ready, getting the pieces that they need. Okay, so always asking yourself, how do I want my audience to feel? And this is really going to support you with bringing the vibe. Okay, so we can workshop this a little bit. I'm going to kind of provoke you a little, and you can take your notes, have your thoughts. We can kind of collect them all at the end. But every brand has an emotional frequency. So if you're feeling stuck on this, I want you to truly just go and think about like your top two favorite accounts. Top two people that you know you can go to and you're going to feel something. What would you say that those emotional frequencies are? Okay, if you're pretty aware of this piece, then it's time to start tapping into yours. What is yours? What is the emotional frequency? How does it feel to be in your audience? Open your grid right now, even on your phone, if you're joining us on your laptop. And just take inventory, study yourself. And then what emotion does your audience crave more than anything? Healing, energy, balance, success, aliveness, clarity. I don't know if I said freedom already. Freedom, growth, sales, in my case, 9 times out of 10, and freedom, right? Love. And again, after you take note on that, take inventory of it. Go to your feed. Do you feel any of those things? I love, and I know some of you have probably heard this before, I love switching the hats. So like I will literally put on a prospect hat and go into your audiences. I will put on a prospect hat and I will go into my own audience and I will ask myself these questions. I will take inventory of myself, inventory of where my focus has been. And then feeling, how can I make them feel that while they're viewing my content? So if you notice, okay, I want to bring more of a certain feeling, and you can actually, let's open the chat for a second here. If there's a certain feeling that you're knowing you're wanting to bring, We can workshop like different ways for you to bring that feeling to them. How could you embody it more? How can you represent it more? Is it something you can bring forward with the aesthetic a little bit so that no matter what they're reading, they're still feeling that feeling too, or they're seeing, getting a hit of that emotion or that energy? Where can you bring more of that forward? When you embody the transformation and you are doing the work with others, it just feels right. So does. Yes, I love that. Let's go. All of this. I'm so glad. Yes. And that's the part that makes the work so contagious, right? And then like a lot of people are always like, oh, how can I be more magnetic? Go be in your mission. Like go create something so magical. Go remember who the hell you are. Go self-recognize. Go remember what it is you want others to feel, what it is that you are normalizing in your world for them, and go do that and go be that and go have some fun with that. Because that is the magic. That is what will be what that will be what brings you alive, what makes you feel magnetic, where people are like, I don't know, there's just something about the way you're showing up lately. And it's because 9 times out of 10, you're being unapologetic about it. You're, aka, no longer hiding, no longer playing small, because it's authentic, it's aligned, it's embodied. So show them that you are living that emotion. You guys know I love this part. Okay, you want them to feel connected. Show them your day-to-day life. How can you bring them into your day-to-day life? How can you help them feel connected to you as not just the leader of that result, but also somebody who lives it? Okay, that is also, like, in my opinion, one of the quickest ways you can give your audience a sense of safety. Is they're like, okay, she's doing it. Like it's one possible. She's consistent with it. So there's a lot of safety there. And every time I open her account, I am able to put myself in that energy and feel it. Okay. And you want them to feel empowered. Own your expertise unapologetically. Like, think about it. What do you love about seeing people show up unapologetically, a little spicy, having fun, being quote unquote magnetic? You love how empowered it makes you also feel. It literally changes your experience when you're watching it. And so where can you bring more of that? I was challenging a few of you last week, in the last few weeks, really, it's been a hot topic of just where can you stop holding back? If you have something to say it. If you have something to share it. If you are doing something in your personal life, add a little, a little something, something to it. Add some words, add something that's part of your mission. Add a truth bomb. Add something that you know is an objection that they keep bringing that's an excuse. It's simply an excuse. You want them to feel peace. So be consistent with your marketing, right? Create a healthy relationship with them. Sales is an energetic experience, which is why so many people will choose and claim the struggle bus through consistently complaining about it, comparing about it, avoiding the internal work that goes alongside with sales, right? So it will really impact their sales experience because being super logical about it, being, or not logical, but being super analytical about it, being super, strategic about it will only take you to a certain level. And then you have to start meeting your own limits and you have to start exercising and expanding yourself. So it really does become a very energetic and honestly like a very spiritual practice. So the more that you embody the feeling that they desire, the more naturally they will be drawn to you. Okay, so the quicker they'll feel safe, the quicker they'll feel seen, understood, right? The more that they will desire to be in a space with you around this result because you are unapologetically showing up and sharing it. Let me know if this is landing, how you are feeling, where you're at with this. And then we're going to get into the last section here, which is detachment in sales. This is, we love a detachment moment. We love a detachment conversation. I'm trying to get the chat up here again. This is loving this so many. I'm so glad. This is good. I want you, there's so many examples I want to give you right now. I want you to think about how you feel and like truly for a second, even just pause with me and let's close our eyes. When you think about, if I was saying to say to you right now, like, oh my gosh, let's go fill 3 spots this week. Let's go have the time of our life. Let's go share our message. Let's go show up consistently and let's go make 3 sales this week. Like, how fun is that? I want you to tell me how your body feels. Is your jaw clenched? Are you like feeling stiffness in your neck already? Did your tummy flip? Are you like, oh my gosh, well, how or where? Are you like going right up into your mind and trying to get super logical about it? And like, how would that happen? Where are you at when you hear things like that? Like, what is your current relationship truly like when it comes to sales? This all makes so much sense. And that embodied piece is missing from my marketing. I know it. That's right, Mike. Yep. When I nail that, I'll finally find my people. Yes. Not even that feels exciting, but I also don't how, okay. I also feel like I'm going to read this in a second. I'm getting there. I want to remind you and right now invite you into to the feeling, and I'll do this at the end as well, because I just feel like this is so powerful. I'm going to even use a really small number because the number is higher. So even keep this in mind. There are 2 people. That's the number we're going to go with. 2 people in your audience right now that have filled out the application or written you up a paragraph in your DMs, gone onto your sales page 300 times, whatever your sales process looks like. There are 2 people right now that have initiated it. You don't know that. You don't even know that they exist. You don't know that they're like this right now, like, I want to, but I'm scared, I'm nervous, all the things that we experience as a whole human. And they haven't hit submit or send or buy now or I'm in because they're waiting for this, just this little next stage of you. They're waiting for your next level. And so how would you show up this week? Today, let's just even start with today, and then let's practice this all week. How would you show up today if you knew these 2 people were there? They're there. They're just like this, hovering over hitting the button. How would you show up? How would you be unapologetic for them? How would you embody the offer? How would you let them in? How would you create a connection with them? How would you make sure that you're ensuring that you're creating a healthy relationship? Where would you be consistent? Where would you be communicating? What would that look like if you knew that that was happening? And then that being said, if someone else becomes a no, I want you to pay attention to this. We're going to get there too in this segment, right? What happens in your body? Can you stay neutral? Can you come back down into, well, like, I already know there's 2 people in my audience constantly becoming ready, and they're just waiting for me to show up as the leader first. And can that activate you this week? Right away, when you say 3 spots, my mind goes into panic. How? Because even though I've done more than that in a week before, I create stories about why I was able to. Okay, so that's where it's like you want to. This is so good, Casey. And like, who else has done this? We've all done this. We've had like a good week, and then we assume it's because of something circumstantial that week that it was good, and that's not always the case. Literally, just us rewriting our beliefs and our expectations of what we want to be experiencing. I'm not talking to my client. Yeah, and sometimes these stories. So Casey's example, Lizzie's example. Sometimes these stories too will have us literally complicating what it means to market, complicating what it means to show up consistently, complicating what it means to get sales, complicating how sales get to happen in your world, complicating the whole process, which then makes it takes you longer to then create the piece of work. Now you're working more hours. Now you're starting to feel more drained because again, remember, this is compounding day after day. And you aren't feeling lit up in your mission because you're constantly running with this story of, oh my gosh, they need so much from me. This has become an unhealthy relationship and it's starting to feel toxic. I'm nearly talking to my client. I love this light bulb moment. Okay, this is so good, Lizzie. This is so good for you. Okay, for example, January is a big month. Casey did have a massive month in January, but I told myself, habits and the start of the new year New Year's resolution is why that happened. March has been a big month, but I raised my prices and told myself it's because, oop, I just lost you here. Because everyone wanted to get in before the price increase, even though my most recent client paid in full for her new price. After just following her, we were definitely celebrating that. I love this. And so when we can acknowledge the fact that like no, people literally feel the energy, they see the message, they also see that it's a safe message because I'm representing it, I'm embodying it, and I'm consistent. This is how simple sales can be. This is how simple it can be to convert your audience. But we go and we follow all the marketing coaches and gurus who are like literally in my DMs just so that we have this awareness. We go and take all these like little sales courses because, oh, it must be the sales script, even though we don't use one. It could be, it could be this, it could be that. And we're like outsourcing all of this to something else and going and complicating the whole process when really what they're looking for is you to show up, you to represent, them to feel clear, and them to feel connected. I realize I get caught in content, nearly in client. Lizzie, and I feel like this goes back to the conversation we had last week too. Like this is so freeing for you. This is so good. To really just sit and acknowledge where you like where your creative energy is actually going. Is your creative energy going on to creating magic and putting it out and feeling so fucking alive in what you're creating? Or is it going right up into your mental mind and creating stories, creating limitations, creating like deserving beliefs? And it's so interesting if we can catch that and come back to, right, my mission or my work or my business or my offer is my greatest initiation. Because every day I get to wake up and choose to be the representation of that. I get to self-recognize and remember who I am, what I'm leading, what that gets to mean, and I get to go and represent that and embody that. I love this. I could actually talk to you guys all day about these things. This is so good. Now, I want you to write this down when it comes to the sales part. The less attached you are to making the actual sale, the more they feel safe in choosing you. Specifically, if you are selling to a woman. Okay. So we as women feel safer saying yes when we know that we can also say no. And let me know if you feel that. Let me know if that's hitting something. Okay. We feel safer saying yes when we know we can also say no. 1,000%. Yeah. So it's like, whoopsies, where can we're getting somewhere good here, guys. Where can we remember that? And can we keep that in the back of our mind? Like, I don't need to be attached to this specific sale. And I can lean back because I know that there are two really hot leads in my audience, like literally dream clients wanting to take that next step for me. They're waiting on my consistency. They're waiting on my leadership. They're waiting on my representation. And bringing the power back to you, not in, oh, I'll feel powerful once I make the sale or once the sale comes to me. Because it's always going to happen. You're leading a mission. You are always going to have to go first. And so when we keep our beliefs, our thoughts, our identity, and then our alignment and our embodiment in check with this, it makes this piece honestly feel like magic. Like if you haven't had sales experiences where it actually feels like magic, it feels so exciting. You know, last week, Casey's messaging me, another sale, cute. This is fun, cute. Right, Lizzie, like you guys have experienced this. It gets to actually feel that way. But it's about staying in check with those things of what actually created the sale. It wasn't some circumstance, it was you. Okay, same with if you think about yourself in a dating sense. I don't know how many of you are single or maybe you've recently been single. Your girl is very new to this, but I would say that I I feel like the more magnetic you want to be in your dating, like Kevin will totally vouch for this. He's our dating guy. The more that you can detach from a man or a partner or a person, even a friendship, anything that you want to see them come to you, right? You want to see more leadership from them. And that's ultimately what we're waiting on is our client to lead themselves into results. The more that you lean back, the more they tend to come in, right? The more they're like, hey, oh my gosh, I miss you. Or hey, I haven't heard from you in a long time. How are you doing? Hey, I was thinking about you. You're naturally creating space for that to take place. So attachment equals neediness, which equals client repellent. Okay, so take note of that as well if that lands. And this doesn't matter how, I want to note this. This doesn't matter. I know there's so many of you on here with so many different sales processes, and I want you to acknowledge your unique sales process. But there are so many ways that neediness can show up in just the way we talk to them, the way we shoot a message to them, the way, like, just certain language on our sales pages, on our copy, okay, in our interactions, in how we're ending a call. And I'll kind of give you some examples because I think that it's just really freeing, I think, to have these conversations specifically around sales, because obviously this can be a very, I say heavy, but it can be like a little bit of a stressful topic, especially when we are creating an income for ourselves in our futures. And it's something that we're not having the most aligned experience with at the moment. Let's word it like that. So neediness is the biggest deal killer in your sales and in those relationships that you are also building. I want you to remember that. Like, we're really going to look at sales and selling like a relationship. And if you can even just ground yourself into that every time you sense your body or your mind spiraling or you're getting out of focus again. So asking yourself, who am I when they buy? Really feel that versus when they don't. For those of you that have listened to the Becoming Wealthy trainings inside the vault, you will remember the goal is to energetically remain the same, whether this person says yes or says no. You are so detached that you are operating the same way, no matter what they say. So if someone jumps in my DMs and they're like, so I've had this, I would say a few times this year, where it's like they initiate the conversation and they're sharing a bit and they're like, oh my gosh, like you're on my vision board. And I'm not like, oh shit, right? I'm like, love that for you. When you're ready to create that vision board into your reality, you message me, here for that. Like, sending big hearts, right? And I'm on my way. I'm still gonna go meet my girlfriend for lunch and then go on a walk. I'm gonna go do my thing. And I'm gonna have the best time of my freaking life doing it. Because their no is just someone else's yes. But I had to create a relationship around this. I used to like frump down and be like, what did I do? What did I do wrong? And it's like, no, no's are gonna come. And they're gonna come in different forms. But are you being the same person no matter what? Because that's where sales will start to get easier, is when you are noticing that you're remaining the same person. So I would also recognize this piece, and this is something, I don't want to say I love doing this, but this is something that has worked in the past and that I'll have a lot of conversations with around my clients that are selling like, a very higher ticket experience or higher ticket space, and they want to stay in their values, right? So again, going back to the representation of being higher ticket or higher value, if you have somebody that's like, you can tell they're nervous and you're like wanting to go and like over explain or word vomit or talk up your program and make sure you list out all of the benefits or all the bonuses or all the extras, how many call hours or whatever else, my route is usually to remind them that this is definitely a space, like, hey, girl, I see you. I'm definitely sensing that you're experiencing some nervousness or a little bit of fear. And I want to just remind you that this might not be the space for you. This is definitely a space for the woman that's all in, for the woman that is ready to choose her dreams, that is, in and committed to doing the work despite what their body is currently feeling. So if that is the case, I actually invite you into my lower program for XXX. And then I'm detached, walking away, and she's like, you know what? You're right. I was in a pattern. Boom, let's go. And it's how you, super curious how that landed for you because I want you to like really notice what comes up around that. How you approach everything. And this is what I mean by even just the words you say, the way that you approach anything that's happening. Okay. Because neediness will always, in any area, be your deal killer. What do we got here? My wife would absolutely laugh out loud because it's so true, don't you? Mike, where is she these days? We need to get her on here. My mind definitely goes into analytical mode to break everything down when that happens. I used to, Olivia, same. Okay, I used to be her. I used to do this. And that's why I'm like, there's so much power in this conversation for all of us, absolutely all of us, but specifically when it comes to sales. Hold on here. Sorry, I'm losing myself. I'm the queen of overanalyzing all my no's. Yes. And it's because too, like, you can have compassion. You can have compassion for yourself and then recognize what you want to do the next time. I can have compassion for how I used to operate when this would happen. And going forward, this is how I'm going to approach it. And this is what I think about those situations. And you get to just start to instill new beliefs around what no means, new beliefs around what this means, new beliefs around insert X. And you'll start to notice the more you scale you and your approach and your posture and how you approach things, how you think about these things, what you expect to happen in your world, the more that they'll start to happen, right? And the more you'll just continue to lead yourself in that way. But I think what really helped me was starting to have a ton of compassion for myself and obviously recognizing where that feeling was coming from and where wanting to like just criticize every little thing that I might have done or get really anxious about it or just go up top is how I'm going to keep referencing it. Going into my mind and spinning. The more I could pause, recognize it was happening, give crazy compassion to myself and to younger versions of myself that like why this was happening and then tell myself, what am I going to do going forward? What's the belief going forward? Okay, going forward, when this happens, this simply means X. When I get a no, it's because there's a yes coming in. This person's not ready to match me. That's fine. And what I love is when we can stay empowered and stay excited that they said no. When you can stay fully alive when someone tells you no and you can move on, you can also almost bet that they're going to be back in another 3 to 6 months, sometimes less. They're going to build safety. They're going to be watching more than ever. They're going to be dealing through their own emotions of like noticing where they might have held themselves back and all the patterns that we experience as human beings. And then they will be back. But it really will depend on how you handle yourself, right? If you don't have a lower program, do you push them to a freebie? Okay, so if I didn't have the membership, yeah, honestly, there's actually been times where I have encourage them to pause the conversation and go watch a masterclass and then come to me after the masterclass, really threw them into their own leadership. Yeah. So definitely if there's a podcast that you were on that like really explains a certain thing well, or where you talked about like the mindset that people need to get overcome before they invest into themselves. If you did a live video, drop them into the live video. There's a lot of things that you can do. So definitely. Casey, too, like if you have like a single session, if you have something really small too. I have a few of these. I have a weird one at the moment and rarely don't know what to say. But here I'm like, yes. And Lizzie, we can like workshop that after if you want to, because I feel like this will definitely be like probably magnetizing just like so much to you. I've experienced this a few times recently, telling a client, hey, I don't think this is a fit. And it feels so good. Yes. And like to still initiate, like you can acknowledge, hey, I don't think this is aligned right now. What I actually think would be best if you went here and then we get you rocking and rolling into this. Because this is kind of the behavior that we're looking for. This is kind of the approach or the mindset that we're looking for the people that come into this space. And think about that. If someone said that to you, they didn't just want to take your money, quote unquote. Because think about how many, there's a lot of people that experience that. How they feel to be led by you without even investing yet, or being led into a lower ticket investment, if that's the case. Like you guys know, there's a lot of people that come from Freedom Society up into the mastermind, right? And vice versa too. There's people that come from the mastermind into the membership afterwards. But like if someone came to me for the mastermind and I knew they weren't ready, that they needed 3 months in here, I would tell them, give me 3 months in the membership and then move up. Right. And that's being of the best service to them. She keeps calling to action and it's so weird in the DMs. Okay, I'd be so curious, Lizzie. I want to dissect this later. This is so, and it's so funny when we can sit back and instead of getting into like, how can I close them? How can I make this convert? Like whatever other stories and be like, what is it? What's going on over there? What's going on in her world? Or even saying that, hey, like I wanted to shoot you a voice note. I'm just sitting here and like actually thinking about you as I was scrolling through our conversation. You know, this is kind of what I noticed. Like, let me in. What's going on over there? What's coming up for you? And seeing them and understanding them goes so far. It's so cool. Okay. I feel okay turning down clients that aren't aligned for reasons like price, etc. Yes, but I feel anxious, over analytical when people ghost and wondering if I worded the conversation weird, if my energy was off, etc. This is so valid. So one of the things that I really like sharing on, yes. So go there with yourself too. Like after, make note of that. Like my beliefs around being ghosted, because of course, like our a human fear is abandonment, right? Like, oh my gosh, like they're just like left me without saying why. And like my daughter, she's 6 right now, and it's always like, Mommy, don't leave me for like getting out of the car. I'm like, baby, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving you, right? But like we all have that inside of us of like, what did I do wrong? Why'd you do that to me? Like, I wouldn't do that to you. So I would definitely recommend to sit there and get curious about it. But one of the things that really, really helped me was simply recognizing this has nothing to do with me. Like nothing to do with me. And they're on what we call their buyer journey, right? So they're moving along the journey, picture like a GPS map. And their car is on the map and it's like trudging along to the destination, the results, the in. And they need to work through their journey of readiness to be at the point where they're fully ready and they're like, I'm in. And so that might be like they inch themselves and they're like, I'm so close. Yep, I'm gonna ask for the link. I'm not ready. Because you don't want them coming in and not taking action anyways. There's nothing harder as a heart-led individual who's leading a mission that when people show up and they're not showing up, right? People commit, but they're not committed. Right? No, that's not a relationship you would want in a partner. That's not a relationship you would want in a friendship. That's not a relationship you want in your business either, regardless of the sale, because more aligned sales can come. So I think it's really nice and it's been really supportive for me, I would say in the last 5 years to really look at it as like, that's their journey, right? They might need 30 days. That's fine. I'm like, and I literally put out there, yeah, no worries, like letting them be. I might still drop a heart. I might still engage every once in a while and just like pop into their world. But most importantly, I'm using this as an opportunity to help them see and build safety and build trust in me as a brand, in me as a mentor, in me as a leader. I'm going to provoke their thoughts. I'm going to storytell on situations where I've maybe done what they're doing or what I would do in those situations. I'm going to use it as an opportunity to speak to my market so that I can speak to them and the ones in those similar shoes or feeling similar things. I'm going to continue to be an unapologetic representation and build that safety. And then that's where like the very determined version of me really comes online. And I don't know. I like when we're able to finally detach to the point where we're not making it anything about us. But it is super valid that it's a sensitive one because I've been there. Okay. So the 50-40-10 rule. Those of you with the vault too, like we're going to be dropping in, you guys know we've been completely revamping everything. So we have some really cool new resources around marketing coming in there so that you can know, and I'm giving you templates too on like speaking to your cold audience members, what trigger points are needed, to your warm, what trigger points are needed, what that might look like in a caption, and same with your hot. But your job is not to convince them to buy. It's to be present and available when they are ready to buy, right? So think about that buyer journey. Your job is to be present and showing up, okay? Present with your leads, present with showing up and talking to the cold leads, warm leads, hot leads, and to be available when they're ready. Nothing you do can make somebody ready. And if somebody comes into support feeling forced, it's never going to be a healthy results-driven, long-term client relationship. You guys know that I don't just stand for like helping you guys get sales. I stand for also keeping people in your company for a very long time, creating really incredible relationships. So cold leads, you can look at this as like, okay, 50% of these guys will never buy, and they are going to be like making up a good chunk of your leads at the moment in your audience when you think about it. And then warm leads, okay, 40% will buy later, right? They're warming up. Their car's midpoint on the GPS map. And we've got our hot leads, and 10% of these guys will buy now. And so this is where, when you can remember this and remember the story that there are so many hot leads that you have right now, you don't even know exist. They might not even be following you. They could be putting in your name every day. They could be waking up, going on the phone, putting your name in, watching your stories, watching your feed, and they might not even follow you yet. So your job is to show up for them. Your job is to be unapologetic and to ensure that you're selling, because so many of you want more sales, but you're not selling. So you show up for the hot leads, you show up and do the selling, and also work on those that are on their journey, right? Make sure you're showing up for your cold leads. Make sure you're showing up for your warm leads. Make sure that you're being consistent, making sure that you're sharing your personal stories, your truths, what you see, what you stand for, what you stand against, right? Client stories, making sure you're doing your part. My little face over here. Okay. Polarity. When you're unattached to anything, you attract everything. So it doesn't matter how woo you are. It doesn't matter how into the energetics you are. Put this into play in any area that you have some proof in. And if you don't have any proof, consider today to start to be proof. Just being here and allowing yourself to experience these feelings and to open up and to expand, you will notice things shift today. You will notice some slightly different experiences today. Okay? The more you lean back, the more people lean in. Okay. I always think about kids in this example. So if you have kids, or if you've had kids, or if you've ever been around kids, and you know when they're like behaving in a way, and if you keep focusing on that behavior, it just keeps happening. You're like, oh my gosh, like today's just such a rough day. But when you like acknowledge the behavior and then you kind of put your focus on something else and you unattach from the way that they were acting and stop making a story about it, they suddenly do their own thing, right? And then they lean in and they start acting however you would expect them to act, or however, you know what I mean, would be normal for them. That's how easy some of this is. It really is about controlling what we're thinking about, what we're obsessing about, what we're expecting to happen. So detachment creates space for your clients to come to you freely and ready. You'll notice that when you're detached, it's not just even about being over here being like, okay, I'm going to be detached today. No, like when you're detached, you show up differently, you speak differently, you call into action differently, you share truth bombs differently, you share words of wisdom, aha moments, transformations, you share education, you share every single thing that you're doing so differently when you are completely detached or unattached. So it's definitely not something that, again, for those of you that tend to be where I used to be and like go up in your mind and like overcomplicate this. It's just a practice, just a practice. Who do I want to be no matter what happens today? How do I want to feel no matter what happens today? What am I embodying? What am I representing? That's what I would come back to. Okay. The more secure and certain that you are, the more they trust you without question. So therefore, if they're building that trust without any question because of the way you're showing up, you don't need to convince. You don't need to overextend yourself, spend longer on calls, have crazy, crazy sales calls, make sales calls so complicated, make sales conversations so complicated. Because as soon as you start over convincing or even going into convincing, they're like, well, wait a minute. Is she uncertain? Because I was very certain and sure, and now I'm confused. And it will really change the way that you approach them and they approach you. So if you can even just think about those examples too, of like where any of that can be happening and using this as an opportunity to really clean this up and then just simply putting it into practice. We're not shaming anything that happened before this moment. We're simply bringing in awareness and compassion and activation towards your leadership moving forward. If we expect and assume that everybody is becoming quite certain that we're the one for them to support an XYZ topic, and we're showing up that way, they're naturally going to develop that. And then when they meet us in a DM or in an application or on a sales call or whatever next step they take, and we meet it with certainty, they will continue to feel safe, right? And the more closer they get to the actual button of investing, the more safety they need, the more certainty they are going to require from you. Okay, the energy of sales recap. 1, you're going to practice being the embodiment of what you sell. You are the brand, you are the marketing, you are the content. You know what you help them do. You know what that means for them. You know what that will help them achieve. Show up. And don't just talk about it, represent it. Don't just offer them the sale, be certain about the sale. Be certain about the space. I like to remind clients that your audience, your prospects, your most warmest leads usually are going to borrow your certainty while they create their own. I don't know if you've ever felt that, right? 9 times out of 10, we're going to a space because they desire something that we don't yet have, that we're looking to have, hold or master. And if we can borrow that person's certainty for a minute, we feel more secure and more safe while we build our own confidence around being self-led, around investing, around showing up, around XYZ. Okay. You're going to reverse engineer the vibe. People buy how you make them feel. So you're going to take inventory. You're going to study yourself, not others on the internet. You're going to set boundaries. If you notice that that was something that came up of like, oh my gosh, I'm really over consuming, then I'm comparing, I'm questioning, I'm not creating before I consume, like content 101, set the boundaries, remove the people, unfollow, mute, whatever you have to do. And then detachment is magnetic. And I know you all want to be more magnetic. So the less you need the sale, the more it flows and the more unapologetic you'll become. So it's something to truly keep in mind of where can you remember how you want to feel, whether it's a yes or it's a no, and keep bringing yourself to that place of balance. Okay. So I want to know, we're going to get into this, the Q&A section of this call right after this, but drop in the chat. I want to know your biggest takeaway from today's session. How are you going to be embodying this into your business starting right now? Like tag me in your stories today and just hide it. Like no one has to see it, but I'll see it so then I can keep an eye, right? What are you going to do in your content this week? When are you batching content? Can you put some of this into play? When you're creating and what's the word? Recording B-roll. Can you put this into your mind as well? This replay will go up as well for those of you to rewatch and for everybody to catch the replay. But if today's training really resonated with you and you're ready for daily high touch support like this, so that you can scale with simplicity, you can honestly just message me the word simple on Instagram and we'll make that happen together. You guys know Unrealistic Mastermind is open. We are accepting clients. But I wanted to put that all there for you. But let me know. I'm going to open the chat in a second, but I just want to say thank you for being here. The goal following this recording is to go be the future millionaire that you are, that you know that you are here to be, and go change the world. There we go. Let's open up the chat. I don't know what I got going on here. There we go. Okay, it's been a minute since I've been in the dating world, but seeing my relationship with my clients as a dating relationship was an aha moment I needed. This is amazing, absolutely amazing. Biggest takeaway, lean back, keep it simple, prioritize your own energy, balance first, and clients will feel that. Yes, yes, yes. Realizing that sounded weird. No, it doesn't at all. I mean, not being needy for the sale, letting them come to me. I feel like it's just nice when we start to, I just feel like reflection is so big. Reflection is such a gift. And when we're able to reflect on that and then go study ourselves and take inventory and play and practice, Like actually be like, I really liked how I felt when I did that. I didn't love how I felt when I did that. What would I do differently next time? Like I love studying myself. People by people will definitely remind myself of this. Yes. Yes. And where can we let them in to us as people? So cool. So beautiful. Thank you guys so much for joining. Anybody who wants to stay, you're welcome to stay. Anybody who was just here for the first half, I completely understand. Big reminder for me to get out of my pit of desperation and become more aligned with being a match for those who are truly ready and to stop convincing and taking on new clients that I know deep down are not ready. Yes. Olivia, that's so freeing. And it is hard. I feel like we could take a minute to talk about that when you're between worlds. I like to look at it like that. You're like between two worlds. You've got this ideal world where it's like, okay, I want to feel this and it'll feel really aligned when I'm making sales, but you've also got your current. Okay, so you've got your unrealistic reality and you're stuck in your current reality where you're like, well, that's not the reality yet. Well, that's easy to say, but XYZ is what I'm experiencing, or this keeps happening to me. And when you can recognize that you can let that happen, let it crumble, and keep moving into your unrealistic reality, you'll actually quantum leap and experience that much quicker, right? And that much more simpler, or yeah, with more simplicity. So it's like letting that exist and knowing like that's why I don't want you to put pressure on yourself. Like have crazy compassion, but then going forward, how are you approaching this? How are you thinking every day? How are you showing up? How are you approaching yourself on a daily basis? What are you going to do for your energetic needs before you show up every day? And after, what are you going to do for your energetic needs? Like to keeping yourself in this place of actually feeling alive and abundant and aligned and magnetic and impactful. I know that every single one of you started your business because you wanted an impact on the world. Nine times out of 10 at a young age, and it just like takes a long time to figure out a path of getting there. So remembering that and self-recognizing yourself for this, just the simple fact that you are showing up and you are impactful to people on the internet is amazing. Wait, but actually just got a message from a prospect. That sounds great. What are the next steps? And you'd be like, love this for you. These are the next steps. Like, you guys, I knew without a fail. I knew without a fail we would get that. Okay, this is so good. And this is proof, right? To go work the work. Go work what's working, drop out of your mind and go have the time of your life and show up like the future millionaire you would if you were making the impact that you are ready to be making. And stop blocking it with resistance and stories and convincing. This is